Hey everybody, welcome to week 2 of English 2530. By now you should have heard from me on at least your first post and likely your second post. As I work through these, I tend to try to turn them around fairly quickly, but you're always welcome to email me and ask on an update or anything like that. And especially in these shorter posts, I can move through these pretty quickly. As we go into next week, things are going to be a little bit longer. It may take a little longer because you're going to be writing more in each post. You only have one due per week rather than so many in 1 week. But for this week, you've got 3 small assignments due. And you'll notice that in each one of them, I'm asking you to do a little bit more than just quote and reflect. You're going to deal with 3 Old English poems. The first is The Wanderer, the second is The Wife's Lament, and the third is The Dream of the Rood. Now, the 2 poems that you're going to see first, The Wanderer and The Wife's Lament, are elegies, which means that the speaker is mourning something. And I want you to dig into what the speaker might be mourning here and how he or she reflects that mourning. So in the first one, I'm asking you to just think about what he is actually mourning. He uses a lot of imagery in The Wanderer, but what specifically is he saying is a loss? And secondly, it's a little more confusing with the Wife's Lament, and I want you to dig in a little bit into the relationship with her husband, her Lord, and what is she saying and how does she represent that information? How can you speculate about what actually happened here to leave her feeling in this area where she thinks that she needs to mourn or that she feels the sadness? In other words, how did she get here? And how does the poem help you understand how she ended up in this space? And then finally, you have The Dream of the Rood. The Dream of the Rood works in a similar genre as Cadman's Hymn that you read last week, where there's this dream narrative and some fantastical imagery that's coming out here as a part of that dream narrative. So I want you to think about not just the what of the dream narrative and the symbolic imagery, but why. Why is the author constructing the poem in this way? And I want you to look for 2 specific examples, whichever ones you choose are yours to consider, but can think about how these images, whether they're contrary or complementary, do the work of what the author is intending to do, and think about why the author would construct it that way. In order to do that, you've got to really think about why the author wrote this poem to begin with. And so I don't want to fill in too many gaps here, but to think about it a little, it's clear to me at least that this poem is written to be devotional, which means it's meant to inspire faith in Christianity, in the speaker's readers, or then to their hearers in this case in the oral tradition. So that's the whole idea here, is that the people who are encountering this poem would be inspired to a deeper faith in Jesus. So how does the imagery that the author includes help bridge that gap? Now, you might approach this and say that the author has a different intention. That's completely fine. But what I want to see from you is how the author connects the imagery of the poem in those 2 examples to the why, whichever why you want to pick from. So I look forward to reading your work on those things. As just a point of some housekeeping, I guess, your posts are due on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of this week, and they're not expected to be of any great length. I'm not looking for you to have a really long explanation. What I'm just trying to do is encourage you to work with the text. I recognize that putting this much in a week, or this 3 different assignments, is a lot, and so I'm not asking you to write full paragraphs or anything like that. It's just here's some quotes, here's what I'm thinking in terms of the answer to the questions that the prompt is asking. So I think you can handle this, and I'll be in touch regularly as I'm moving through this to try to give you some feedback on your work as you're working through it, some things that I might be noticing even now. Something to look at going into next week as we hit Beowulf is we're going to expand that into basically a 1-page writing assignment, but at that point everything will be due on a Friday. These first 2 weeks are just getting you used to the course, to the texts, and getting you used to the format of how this discussion board will work in terms of going forward. I think I'll send some more information out on week 3 so that you'll know exactly what you need to do. But for now, just focus on the texts themselves. Focus on responding to them. As I mentioned in the previous week, go ahead and start early. And you can, as you notice, many of you turned in your first assignments early. Discussion 2, a little bit early. That's completely fine. Anytime you want to do that early, that's great with me. You don't have to, but if you want to go ahead and get it out early in the week, that's good too. Even if you're planning to complete it by the end of the week, go ahead and get started early in the week so that you don't forget at some point and maybe end up rushing at the end of the week. So I hope all this has been helpful for you. As always, you can reach me by email, cmoody@aum.edu. Stay in touch with me. I'm going to try my best to stay in touch with you as well to try to help you along with the process. But if you have any issues at all, please email me. I can work with you on them. Take care. Have a great week.